From his comments in Time magazine about the Oscars ignoring his films, to campaigning among fans for a deserving win, here's why James Cameron slams the Oscars for Avatar not winning Best Picture. Cameron accused the Academy of being elitist towards his sci-fi films. So, is it true? Or is he just bitter about not being nominated for Best Director? Let's find out. It's no secret the legendary Titanic and Terminator director's been vocal about the way the Academy ignores his sci-fi and fantasy films, especially his Avatar franchise, which has been a major crowd pleaser. According to Cameron, the Academy has a bias against his films, an attitude he claims is holding back the film industry. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past few decades, chances are you've seen at least the first Avatar movie. And if you have, then you know it's nothing short of a masterpiece. Not surprisingly, the original Avatar film is the highest-grossing film of all time. Need I say more? And if you're gonna say that it won the Best Production Design Award, save it. I know that, and James obviously does too. I'm talking about the big awards: Best Picture of the Year, Best Director, and Best Screenplay. The fact that none of Cameron's Avatar films have won any of these major awards is a real travesty, and only bolsters his case for a biased Academy. It looks like Cameron decided to skip out on this year's Oscars ceremony, despite Avatar: The Way of Water being nominated for 4 awards. Producer John Landau and Cameron couldn't attend due to personal reasons, which of course sent the rumor mill into overdrive. What could those personal reasons be? Did he have a hot date? Was he stuck in brutal LA traffic? My guess is Cameron just didn't feel like showing up. Late-night funny man Jimmy Kimmel didn't hesitate to crack a joke about Cameron's absence in one of his famed opening monologues, saying, "You know a show is too long when even James Cameron can't sit through it."
You know a show is too long when even James Cameron can't sit through it.
A clear reference to The Way of Water's lengthy 192-minute runtime. But still, there were plenty of cynics out there, spreading rumors about why Cameron really skipped the ceremony. Some speculated he was upset about not getting a Best Director nomination, while others suggested he was simply too busy counting all the money he's made from his billion-dollar movies. Who knows, maybe he's tired of all the glitz and glamour of Hollywood and wanted to spend the night binge-watching Netflix in his pajamas. Can't say I blame him. Regardless of why he skipped out on the ceremony, Avatar: The Way of Water still managed to pick up nominations in 4 different categories. And even though Cameron wasn't there to accept any awards himself, his film still received some well-deserved recognition. Cameron wasn't the only nominated industry titan to skip the Oscars this year. Did you notice that Tom Cruise was also absent? Many people couldn't figure out why Cruise was a no-show, because Top Gun: Maverick was nominated for 6 awards, including Best Picture. Rumor has it Cruise didn't want to attend because Nicole Kidman was there, and he wanted to avoid an uncomfortable run-in. Others say Tom's absence was due to scheduling conflicts, but it's also been reported that Kidman skipped the Oscars luncheon that Cruise attended last month. Something tells me they're still not on good terms. They clearly seem to be avoiding each other, at least at public functions anyway. But here's the thing, guys. Cruise is a big-time movie star. Some might even argue the biggest of them all. He's been in the game for decades and has probably attended more red carpet events than we've had hot dinners. So for him to skip the Oscars, it had to be for a good reason. And maybe that good reason was avoiding his ex. But whatever the reason for Cruise's absence, in the end, it didn't stop Top Gun: Maverick from winning an Oscar for Best Sound. Believe it or not, many famous A-listers have skipped out on Oscars night for a number of reasons. Who can forget the time that Will and Jada Pinkett Smith boycotted the Oscars? This happened back in 2016, and Will and Jada's rationale was that no people of color were nominated for major acting awards, which, to be fair, wasn't a good look for the Oscars. Several celebrities decided to join Will and Jada's cause, vowing to do their part, and ensuring that such a thing didn't happen again. The boycott also resulted in the infamous hashtag #OscarsSoWhite, which actually trended on Twitter for weeks. Since then, the Academy has acknowledged their mistake, and now more and more people of color are nominated for Oscars every year. That's a win for Will and Jada. Other celebs haven't outright boycotted the Oscars, but they still had their reasons to not attend. Among them is Banksy, the anonymous and mysterious graffiti artist who's been making waves in the art world for years. In 2011, Banksy's debut film, Exit Through the Gift Shop, was nominated for Best Documentary at the Oscars. But there was a catch. Banksy wasn't allowed to attend the ceremony wearing a mask. Academy executive Bruce Davis was concerned about what would happen if Banksy won, and a bunch of people on monkey masks came on stage claiming to be him. I mean, can you imagine the chaos? It would have been like a real-life version of Who's On First. As luck would have it, Banksy didn't win, and the award went to Inside Job instead. I have to admit, it's cool that Banksy values his anonymity so much. Who wouldn't want to keep their identity a secret when they're a world-renowned street artist routinely breaking the law? Banksy's a rebel, a renegade, a creative mastermind who doesn't want to be held down by society's norms and conventions. And I've got to say, I respect that. So while we may never know what Banksy looks like or who he really is, we can still appreciate his art and the impact he's had on the world. Much like James Cameron's films have impacted and inspired generations of young filmmakers and screenwriters to pick up a video camera or a pen and pad. Maybe one day Banksy will reveal himself, but if he does, it'll be in his own way and on his own terms. Until then, we'll just have to keep guessing. Speaking of celebrities skipping out on the Oscars, I wouldn't be any good at my job if I didn't mention the name Eminem. If you were Eminem and you only had one shot, one opportunity to win an Oscar, would you capture it? I know I would. But instead of capturing it, Marshall was more interested in, well, sleeping through it. Back in 2003, Slim Shady did just that when his hit track Lose Yourself was nominated for and ultimately won Best Original Song, which was featured in the film 8 Mile. Marshall's co-writer Luis Resto accepted the award on the rapper's behalf because Marshall is at home, passed out. Hilarious! Later in an interview, Eminem revealed that he skipped the ceremony because he didn't think he had a chance of winning. Now that's some modesty right there. Eminem's always been a humble dude. I mean, he probably thought Bono was going to take home the Oscar for his song The Hands That Built America, which was featured in the film Gangs of New York. And let's be honest, who wouldn't think that? Bono probably thought he'd win too. But alas, Slim Shady won the award, and he was probably as surprised as anyone. I mean, can you imagine the scene? Everyone's waiting for Eminem to show up, and he's snuggled up in bed with his sweatpants on, counting sheep. It was later revealed that Marshall was watching cartoons with his daughter right before he dozed off. As you can see, Cameron's far from the only celebrity to skip the Oscars. So, there you have it, ladies and gents. From his comments in Time magazine about the Oscars ignoring his films, to other celebrities skipping the Oscars. That's why James Cameron slammed the Oscars for Avatar not winning Best Picture.